The opinions expressed in this show do not necessarily reflect the views of Tampa Bay Arts and Education Network.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Connecting with Kim here on Tampa Bay Arts and Education Network. We're so glad you joined us today. We have another great show coming up for you. We also want to mention you can catch the audio of our show on Sun Radio 96.3 FM and on your favorite streaming platform Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3:30. And we also want to thank our sponsor, the Spring of Tampa Bay, who provides my on-air wardrobe. And the net proceeds from their thrift store on North Willow support their mission of providing safe spaces and empowering services for survivors of domestic violence and their children. I also would like for you to like and follow our Instagram, Facebook, and X account for Connecting with Kim, where you'll find all the latest information about the guests, the show, the broadcast schedule, and of course my on-air wardrobe, in case you're interested in purchasing any of the items that you see me wear. So, with that said, we are so excited because we are welcoming back to Connecting with Kim someone that joined me when this was a radio show back in 2019, and we're cooking up again. We're coming back together again. I'm so excited because she's from a fantastic organization that you're going to want to know all about, who's having a very big year. So without any hesitation, let me introduce to you Shannon, Hannon, Oliviero from Feeding Tampa Bay. Welcome back.
It's so good to see you. Look at you now, girl. Look at you now.
I know, things have changed a lot since those days at Sun Radio, right?
It has, but it was wonderful days.
It
was a wonderful experience.
It was, because, you know, I remember you had a radio show at Sun Radio, and you were very actively involved in the community with Feeding Tampa Bay and helping our folks in my community with food insecurity, which I hate to say, you know, still exists. And so we were so grateful for that. And so that's how we met. And that was like in 2019, pre-pandemic. And now here we are and getting back together. So as you know, I start every show the same way. I let my guests share everything about their life journey that they feel comfortable sharing, because you never know when somebody out there has shared, they're from the same place, they went to the same school, whatever it is. And, you know, they might want to say to themselves, hey, I'm going to listen to Shannon talk about her subject today. So
you got it.
Take it away.
I'm a Tampa Bay girl. Went to school here, have friends here. I'm a mother of 3 children. I think I have an entrepreneurial spirit that found itself in nonprofit, where my heart has been for over, 22 years. I've kind of been in the area. So, you know, helping people, leading them to stability, helping someone feel good, making their day, is something that feeds me and that I enjoy. And, you know, my nonprofit journey started because I was actually part of Clear Channel Radio many years ago, and I stumbled across a nonprofit, the Children's Cancer Center. And I told the executive director at the time, gosh, if you ever need anybody, I would love to work with you guys full time. They had been robbed. Somebody actually had the audacity to rob the Children's Cancer Center, and I heard it. Well, back then we didn't hear it. It was newspapers and fax machines.
Right.
So it came across.
And email.
And email, yes. So it was, everything was in print, and you had to figure yourself out back then. But I read it, and I was like, how dare. So I got all of the radio group to get together and purchase everything to make sure that they had everything that they needed. So that's kind of when I was hooked, because, you know, every person has their own story, They have their own struggle. Maybe their trauma is why they behave a certain way. And that was my dip into the pool of trying to understand folks and help them the best that I can.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I'm glad you shared that story. So we were talking before we went on air that you became part of Feeding Tampa Bay in 2019,
Yes.
right? So let's talk about that just a little bit before we start talking about Feeding Tampa Bay.
So I was part of a merger. I was with Trinity Cafe for a couple of years before that. I had a time in my life where I struggled. Things weren't going my way for the first time in my life, and I actually found myself food insecure for a very short time. I want to make clear there's folks out there who struggle regularly, but it was a very short time where I was really struggling to feed my kids. I sold jewelry. I mean, I did everything to survive. And I saw Trinity Cafe online, that they were hiring somebody for development and community relations. And that's kind of my wheelhouse and what I've done. And it was the first time, although I had a heart for everything I've done before, but it was really the first time that I'd had a glimpse and an understanding of what that felt like for a little bit.
Right.
So I was hired, thankfully, by Trinity Cafe. I met Jeff Derry, who was the founder, who is still a mentor to me. And he taught me to take a pause, listen, be curious, and understand everyone has a story. There's a reason why we do everything. And I think being at Trinity Cafe made me an incredibly different person, more accepting than I've ever been in my life. And it was a real gift to sit around the table and speak with folks and be that conversation with them for 1 hour and also give them a meal. Because Trinity Cafe gives food, but really what it delivers is dignity and respect for anyone who sits around that table, which is so important. So that's really the core of where I am today. And then in 2019, we merged with Feeding Tampa Bay. And Feeding Tampa Bay has taken Trinity Cafe and expanded the opportunities for prepared meals for many, in addition to making sure anyone in need, which right now 50% of our 10-county area is struggling because they can't make ends meet. So we're a very important resource for folks, and it's really an honor and privilege. And by design, I am now at Trinity Cafe. Feeding Tampa Bay.
Feeding Tampa Bay. Well, yes, because the last several years has been extremely challenging. The cost of everything is going up. I honestly, my mom and I talk about this all the time. We honestly don't know how families with children do it. We just, I go to the grocery store and I look and I go, are you kidding? And I don't even buy that much, right? I get a lot of my food out, or I'm eating out, or I'm at, but I look and I go, really? That's what that costs? It always shocks me a little bit. Right. And so I stand there and I think to myself, I don't know how families are doing it. And I God bless them. Yeah. So Tampa Bay, Feeding Tampa Bay is having a huge year. So let's talk about, spend a few minutes talking about, well, I don't know, maybe we want to start with, what does Feeding Tampa Bay actually do? Who are they and what do they do? And then we can talk about this brand new facility you all have, because I know you have big plans beyond that facility.
Right. So Feeding Tampa Bay has been around for over 40 years. It is the food bank. It is the food bank for our region, which is 10 counties. It goes all the way up to Citrus. We go over to Polk, all the way down to Manatee. So anyone in our area, we provide food for. Now, we do that ourselves, but we also do that with partners. So there's over 450 agency partners that we get food to, that distribute it to their community. So that makes sure that anyone can access food in their neighborhood, right? Sun City Center is one of those places, right? So it's really important to us, COVID, the pandemic, however you want to mention it, really brought food insecurity into the mainstream understanding. Before that, you see someone, on the side of the road, or maybe you see someone who, isn't clean or dressed right. You think, oh, but you know what? It's you and me. It's our neighbors. It's some of our school teachers, our bus drivers, anyone can you think of that is struggling. We need to be there to help. And that's what Feeding Tampa Bay does. Plugs folks in to healthy and nutritious food opportunities, but not only that, educating them on how to best budget, how to best prepare meals, how to stretch that meal, anything you can think of surrounding food.
Now, I haven't seen the new facility, but I've certainly heard about it. So help us understand the new facility. That just
So-
opened earlier this year.
It did. It opened in May. We're in our new home for just a little over 3 months' time. This has been a 5 and 6, really a 6-year project. A lot of work went into finding exactly what we needed for this community. You know, we asked the folks that we served. We asked partners. Our team traveled all over the country with other food banks and even folks in industry how to best run a warehouse. And, you know, that culminated, we did a capital campaign, and the community really helped us and lift us to a $60 million facility that will be in millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in impact for the Tampa Bay area. And it's beautiful. It's state of the art. We went from our team going all over the country asking folks questions to folks coming now to us to see how our plans and how our facility was created as it is.
So tell me what happens at that facility.
So a great bit of it is about food. You know, you walk in and you need to come over for a tour. You walk in and it's
Well, you need to invite me for a tour.
I just did.
I will be happy to come and see it.
You need
I've
to
heard
stop
so
by.
much about it.
I would love to have you come by, and anyone who really wants to see us can reach out to me, and I'll bring you over and take you for a tour. But a lot of it is about food and capacity. You know, at our old location, which was in an industrial area and suited the need for a time, but once the pandemic hit, it did not. We were turning away 25% of the recycled food because we had nowhere
place
to put it. And you know, just that first couple of weeks, the shelves were full. We're bringing everything in and getting it right back out, right? But part of it also is we know if someone is struggling with food insecurity, they have more going on. There's a reason you can't put food on your table. And the point to that is to take a moment and ask someone, how can we help you? If you're here today for food, how can we help you be stable, take care of your own, not how to come here? So there's a part of our building that's community focused. We have a new bistro opening, the Trinity Cafe Bistro, and it's a bit of a new concept because Trinity before was all complimentary meals. This is you can pay the bill, you can pay it forward, pay for someone else's lunch, or you can pay what you can, or in a very dignified way, you can opt for a complimentary meal. We have our new market, which is a grocery store that is gorgeous. And that is public facing, and folks, if it's an emergency, you come in, and if you want to continue to come, you make appointments so we can respect the space for folks, make sure the inventory is there that we need, right? We have a wonderful day. Mondays is senior day, and it's a swell program that's specifically for seniors to not only support them with food, but all the other things that we offer in our neighborhood, which is that partner area. You mentioned the spring. Metropolitan Ministries, legal services, financial services. You can come in and tell us what you need help with. Our folks will help you or connect you with a nonprofit that can help you from where you're at in your life at the time. So it's more than food. It's making sure that we have a thriving community and giving anyone who wants the opportunity to be self-sufficient the means to get there.
If you're just joining me now and connecting with Kim, my guest in the chair is Shannon Hannon Oliviero, who is the Media and Public Relations Officer for Feeding Tampa Bay here in the Tampa Bay area and 10 County area, actually. So let's tell the folks exactly where the new facility is located, like physically.
We're on Causeway Blvd, just off of the port.
Oh, okay.
So really, if you think about it, it's very easy access. Yes, it's near downtown, but every roadway, for instance, I live in North Tampa and I can get there in a half hour. You have the crosstown, you have 275. So it's really a great meeting point, central point for that 10 counties that we serve.
So let me ask you, because you've been there since 2019, and at the old facility, the new facility, and also pre-pandemic. So what are you seeing? Well, how have things changed over this couple of years? This, like 5 years. How have what have you noticed has changed?
Well, of course, the pandemic, nationally, internationally, people understood food insecurity. That you can't put a face or a name to it, right? But what we're seeing is families, hardworking folks coming in. You know, I tell this story often because it impacted me so much. As a young nurse standing at the food bank, going into our grocery store with her 3 children, and she can't afford to support her children at this time. So you go through all that education, all that dream of being self-sufficient, really put the effort into it, and you still can't make ends meet. You know, I see seniors on fixed incomes. You know, you and I are of the generation that you dreamt of the day that you could retire and enjoy your life. People aren't able to do that anymore. They're not even able to put the food on the table that they need. And let's not forget pets. You know, we make sure that every family has food for their pets too, because we don't want people making difficult choices. You know, so I have just seen a very diverse group of folks. 87 million meals last year.
Wow.
Is what we put out into the community, and it's still not enough.
That's staggering.
It is.
87 million meals.
Yes.
In just Tampa Bay, 10-county area, right? I mean, it's like, wow.
It's
Can you imagine what, I mean, like, if you expand that to nationwide, you know, because food insecurity just doesn't exist in the 10 counties of Tampa Bay, right?
It's nationwide, it's worldwide. You know, people are really struggling, and really, where is your success if you can't be healthy?
Right.
That's your first step in success.
Well, especially if you're children, because if you're hungry, and if you're not getting proper nutrition, you can't concentrate, you can't develop correctly, the brain can't develop correctly. I mean, the long-term effects of food insecurity are significant.
They really are, and we now notice that. You know, back in the day when I was a young kid, it was okay, or it was normal, and now we want folks to be healthy and eat healthy. So that's why Feeding Tampa Bay, right now we have over 75 school pantries, and that's in elementary, middle, high, and college. We want to grow that program because not only does it make sure that the kids have the nutrition that they need, it connects the family with their education providers, and we have actually seen schools, their grade increase because children and family feel supported. Now it's food for us, but you know, they have clothing pantries inside schools now.
Right.
They have medical opportunities inside schools now. So it's so important. You know, we're talking about children, but just think about it in your life, someone that helped you. Be that person. We want to be that person for folks, but I'm challenging anyone who's watching your show or listening on the radio, be that person. Take a minute, be curious. Why is someone behaving the way they're behaving? Where are they at in life? What happened to them? How can you help them?
Exactly, because, you know, and especially if you are a person who has enjoyed through most of your life, you have not had to face some of these challenges, right? You haven't had domestic abuse in your family. You haven't had food insecurity. So to me, if you are a successful person and you have managed to make it, you have an obligation, in my opinion, to give back.
You do, and you know, I'm here for Feeding Tampa Bay, but there are nonprofits throughout our entire region that could use you to volunteer. They can use your dollars. Nonprofits can only go as far as their community takes them.
Right.
That's how it works. Right? So pick your passion, and if you're doing all right, give back to somebody else.
And I think the pandemic also revealed to us, because when we closed the schools down, from the beginning, I felt this was problematic because for some of those children, that is the only meal they're going to get that day, and it's the only safe place they're going to experience that day. And now you've just taken all that away from them. And I found that, you know, quite disturbing because I think it exists more than we like to think it does.
It exists a lot. During the, we worked with our counties during the pandemic to provide food for those children that relied on that breakfast and lunch. Right. So we worked with our counties. We work with partners during the summer because even though you're talking about that happened in the pandemic, it happens
during the summer. Yeah.
You know, I was, you know, coming into this world, I was horrified to think that when I was a child, I was excited when summer came, and you have children who aren't excited because they know that food is going to be scarce. And how am I going to get food? How am I going to get a meal? The fact that a child would even have to have that cross their mind is a travesty to me.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is.
Yeah.
So we're all working really hard to make sure children have everything they need.
So this facility that you've just built, and congratulations, I think it's wonderful. I'm happy that you had such a successful capital campaign. That was so many people were willing to support you. I mean, we work with a lot of nonprofits here on Connecting with Kim, and we have them on to tell their story. And I can tell you that, you know, Feeding Tampa Bay comes up in the discussion every once in a while. We're talking, and you guys always have such a great reputation and so well respected, and fulfilling such a vital role. You just like Metropolitan Ministries does, I mean, Feeding Tampa Bay does too. So I know you have big plans for this facility other than what it's currently doing right now. So can you kind of take us into what's in the future?
Well, you talked about the other nonprofits that have come in and mentioned partnering with Feeding Tampa Bay, right? We can't do this alone, right? So collaborating with our community, I think, is one of the key components to how Feeding Tampa Bay will grow and lean into our elevated mission. You mentioned Metropolitan Ministries. We provide them with food, but they're also in the future going to provide us with their folks that counsel, right? They were our neighbors across at our old location.
Right.
And now they're going to be storing their food inside of our warehouse because we have room. So what does that do for them? They're a partner. We care about them. We support their mission as well. But it actually makes their dollar more valuable, and it goes more towards their mission if we can help them. We also have at our location learning classrooms. We have the Causeway Hall, which is a hall that I would throw up against any hotel that you could do events at. And through our nonprofit partners, we're also helping them with their fundraising, making sure that every dollar that they raise goes to their mission as much as possible. So there are just so many ways, but the truth of it is we got to work together to make it happen, all of us. You think of the big companies that sponsor and take care of organizations in the community, they want outcomes. They want folks to be supported. And I think all of us in the community and the partners that we work with are working very diligently, again, to create and support that thriving community we all wish for.
Well, because I think your new slogan too, it's not just about feeding someone, it's nourishing them on a much broader level, and helping them to understand how to help themselves. Which I think is the beginning of all. I don't know. You went through it, so you know that you've got to believe inside yourself that it's possible.
It is possible. We know where we are today. We know where we need to be. We say 87 million meals. During the pandemic, it was 92 million meals. We really need 150 million meals to make sure that everyone has access to nutritious food that they need.
150 million.
That's what right now
in the 10-county area.
Yes, that's what this community needs to make sure folks have access. Now they need to choose. That's part of my job. That's part of being here with you today, is making sure people understand the resources that are available to them. We talk about these collaborations and these partnerships, and I mentioned that nurse, right?
Right.
So you come in and you are struggling and you need help in a number of areas. You have to go all over Tampa Bay to get that.
Right.
The thing that I'm really excited about is we are providing one location where if you're struggling, you can come for food and you can make appointments with all those other resources and come back to the same location that you can count on to meet with other people that can take care of you. For instance, Bay Care, we have medical in there. We have mental health in there. So it's really being really convenient. If you're struggling and heartbroken and scared, you need peace, and it helps to have one spot to go to.
Well, I totally agree. And now let me ask you a question. Are people able to get there? What if you don't have a car? Are you able to get there with public transportation? I mean, how, if you don't have a car, how do you get there?
So right now, we don't have, we're pushing for a bus stop.
Okay.
We just opened in May. We have an amazing external affairs officer. Her name is Lorena. Her role is advocacy. So her role is actually telling the story of the people and what they need, working with our officials throughout our communities to make sure they understand what everyone needs, and making sure we get a bus stop. So we're working on that with heart, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity of announcing that, but we do not have it yet.
If people are coming to you, they're coming using their own transportation.
They are, but really what's important is going to feedingtampabay.org, find food, you put your zip code in, and anything that we have there is going to be near you.
Okay. That's what I wanted to understand. Because when you're servicing a 10-county area, you've got to have presence in those areas. They can't just come to one place. Because what if they don't have a way to get there? Like a lot of people in my community, they especially, people don't understand. You can plan for your retirement, but things will happen. And on top of that, medical technology allows people to live longer lives. The quality of that life is very much the question,
Right.
but it allows them to live longer lives. So a lot of times you are outliving your resources.
Yes, and we see that a lot. And I find it completely heartbreaking.
It is.
I met a woman on Monday
Yeah.
who was coming in for groceries, and it's her and her 2 dogs, and she just can't afford to live. I've met a senior who has to sell her house because she's a widow and she can't hold on to it any longer, and it's such a struggle for her.
Yeah.
You know, so there's just so many people that former American dream just isn't happening.
No, it's not happening. And I don't know how you deal with it myself. I don't know how you personally, when you're constantly faced with this population of people who are struggling, it's hard. I'm going to applaud you to be able to maintain your optimism about the whole situation. Do you know what I mean? I think I worked at the pet shelter at the care in South County, No Kill, and after a while, I could feel myself hardening on the inside because people would have stories and you knew it was just a story, and I don't know how you do it.
So for me, I can only talk for me personally, the fact that when you connect someone, you hear their story, and it's really hard, but you connect them, you help them understand that you're there for them whenever they need, how it can be convenient for them, and then you see that peace go over. You can actually see it when the peace comes. I've had a young mother that was in one of our school pantries, and she had a multi-generational household. And her kids were there, and she was a wreck. She had a baby on her hip. We're in a middle school. She impacted me because this was years ago, and I still tell this story. So we come in, she let her kids do the shopping just like you do at a grocery store. And she comes out, and she was holding herself differently. So I asked her what she felt, and she said peace. So those are the things, and I get chills even when I talk about that, because providing someone with a positive outcome when they're seeking help is what will feed you and restore you as a human being. Whether you're a volunteer, whether you're a donor, whether you're you and I telling other folks' story, it's helping provide pathways to stability or peace, as that mom said, is what revitalizes me.
We are out of time. I swear to God, I could just talk to you about this forever. It goes really fast. Everyone says the same thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to thank you so much, Shannon, for being my guest today and connecting with Kim and bringing this important story of Feeding Tampa Bay and the important difference they're making in a 10-county area here to our watchers and listeners. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and we have to have you over for a tour, and you need to come on my podcast, Stick a Fork in It.
Okay, love it. We love getting out there.
Yeah.
So we want to thank you for joining us today on Connecting with Kim here on Tampa Bay Arts and Education Network. I'm your host, Kim Droege. Please follow, and our Facebook, Instagram, and X account so you'll find out all the information about the show, the guests, the broadcast schedule, and the on-air wardrobe that is provided by our sponsor, the Spring of Tampa Bay, providing safe spaces and empowering services for survivors of domestic violence and their children for more than 4 decades. So please support their thrift store on North Willow and later this year when they move into their new location. Thank you. That's all we have time for today. Come back next week for another edition of Connecting with Kim. Bye.